Hey, this is JC and welcome to Small Brick City. We've finally done it, our very first skyscraper in Small Brick City. The structure is complete, it stands almost 3 feet tall, and in terms of minifig scale, that's 11 stories high. There's 9 stories of usable space because the ground floor is 2 stories high, and the very top floor is really the tip of the building, and there's unusable space because it's just too small. But as a skyscraper, this serves its purpose because it towers over the city skyline and it's just taller than any other building in the city, or at least this part of the city. That's the Ghostbusters HQ with the helicopter above it. That's my elevated train station, and you know, it's a pretty big building, but the skyscraper obviously is much taller and it's much more imposing. The footprint of the skyscraper isn't that big. It's on a custom plate of 32 by 40 studs. It's a standalone building, so it's not modular. There's nothing directly next to it. There are alleys on its side and behind it. And there's an elevator that takes you from the ground floor to the 7th floor. You have to access the rest of the floors by stairs. For those of you new to Small Brick City, the skyscraper sits on a section of the city called Metro City, and this is on its own isolated table. The rest of Small Brick City consists of 4 levels that each represent a cross-section of different parts of the city, and you can see it in the background over there. However, the focus for this video is the skyscraper. And if you've been following the channel for some time, you know I've posted several updates on the skyscraper from its inception to various updates. Well, even since the last update, I've changed the building quite a bit. Let's have a closer look at the building in the city. The skyscraper sits on the 2nd Street of Metro City, across from the tiny modular corner building, which is an ice cream parlor and a pastry school, and that's next to the corner garage. Directly in front of the main doors of the skyscraper is 2nd Street, which is a main road. And as we pan up the skyscraper, you can see that every floor is identical, except for the top couple of floors because they converge up to form a steeple. When I designed it, I did have the Empire State Building in mind. I wanted quite a majestic building, something that would scream quite stately and definitely be very impressive in a city skyline. You might notice that logo in front, and that is an E, because this skyscraper belongs to the E Corp. E Corp is short form for the Everything Corporation, because this company basically does everything. It controls all the major businesses in Small Brick City. It's everything. A bit like Wayne Enterprises, which seems to have their fingers in so many pies in Gotham City. You might be actually familiar with the Everything Corporation. Their corporate team building song was actually featured in the first Lego movie. Everything is awesome. Everything referred to E Corp. And if you listen to the lyrics, everything is awesome. If you're part of a team, that team is E Corp, part of the corporate organization. So this is the corporate headquarters for E Corp, the Everything Corporation. And I'm going to detail the different floors of the skyscraper to reflect the different business units and operations of E Corp. The ground floor is the reception area, which you'll see in just a bit. And the next 2 floors are probably going to be just the general workers' offices with a lot of desks. I call them the minions, so there may be a lot of computers and workstations. And the next floor, which is in the middle, I'm thinking of that to be a pantry and rec room. And the next floor above that is going to be the media room, where the TV station, radio station, and basically the media center is controlled from. The floor above it, which is really the main floor just before the top few floors, this will be the president's office as well as the boardroom. Coming up to these 3 floors, they're pretty small and they actually are really at the top of the building. Annie and I were discussing what this should be, and we finally kind of concluded. The first large floor, or the larger floor of the top floors, will be the security office. There will be multiple screens and it's a security control center, which doesn't just control the security of the building, but also monitors all the main roads and major facilities of Small Brick City. The next floor above it will probably contain essential equipment to run the entire building. This includes computer servers, electrical boxes, air conditioning units, and compressors. And finally, the very top floor, which is this one right here below the steeple, that will be the highly secured room and vault, which will house all the top secrets of ECOP and Small Brick City. What do you think of these ideas for the interior floors for this skyscraper? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, because nothing is set in stone yet, so we'll throw it out to you. What do you think should fill the different floors for the skyscraper? Now let me bring in this entire skyscraper into my studio and we'll break it up, and I'll show you the detailed construction and interior of the skyscraper. So here we are in my studio. I've divided the skyscraper into 3 sections because there's no way I could fit the entire skyscraper in frame inside here. So this is the ground floor over here. These are the middle 5 floors, which are identical. And over here we have the top of the skyscraper, which is modular in nature as well. I'll show you each of the sections close up. This is the ground floor of the building, and I've changed it slightly from previous updates. And let's start from the front. The first thing you notice is the difference in the design of the masonry bricks. I've actually made this into a corner, so they're actually 1x2 bricks but alternated, and with 1x1 bricks to form almost a corner, like a 3-stud corner brick. And I have used light grey bricks and dark grey bricks just to create a much more visual and textured look, rather than just using all light grey bricks. I've added 2 lampposts right in front, flanking the building, and I've put these ingot parts to form kind of a design in the front of the foyer of the building, and that just makes it look even more grand. And those are the 2 main doors that open up like this into the lobby. Probably the most distinctive feature is this logo, and that's of course the ECOP logo for the Everything Corporation. Originally, when I designed this, I tried 2 different techniques to build this logo. I did a plate built logo as well as a brick built logo using 1x1 bricks and modified bricks. I also tried to use 1x4 bricks, but the problem with both those designs are they weren't very strong. They didn't hold the structure well together. This is really solid and strong. And more importantly, I felt it looked a bit too cartoony. And in my opinion, the ECOP, since it's a corporation that basically has control of the entire Small Brick City, or hopes to have complete dominance over the city, and it's dealing with all kinds of businesses, from tech businesses to real estate, you name it, I felt it should look more serious and almost have a digital tech feel to it. So that's why I came up with this particular design, and it really works out really well for 2 reasons. One, it is really solidly built. I mean, this won't easily fall apart, nor would come off the bracket that's holding it in place. The second, just due to the design, it does look a bit digital and tech and very modern, so it's really fitting for this ECOP in my opinion. Let me just show you how I put it on. Basically, there's just a bracket, a 1x2 bracket that is embedded in the top of the front of the roof here, and this basically just goes against the back of these plates. And this entire sign is plate built, so it's not bricks, it's a combination of plates, and of course the yellow parts are tiles. But I'm really happy with how this has come out. But let me know your thoughts. First, do you even like the whole idea of an ECOP, the Everything Corporation, and do you like the logo? Let's come round to the sides of the building. In a previous update, I already showed that I had changed the design for the grill parts just so that's not so busy and you can have a clearer look inside. So that's retained. For the corner supports, as mentioned, I've alternated between the dark grey and light grey. And over here at the back, it's more or less the same, except I have changed the lift design. The shaft is still the same and it runs from the top to the bottom of the entire building, but I've changed the design for the lift itself, and it's now much smoother. As you can see, it just drops down, and it can drop down actually from the top floor all the way down, which I really like. It's not motorized, or there's no mechanism to raise and lower the elevator. You just use your hand power here. But here's some tips if you intend to build an elevator for a skyscraper or a building. First, you need to of course come up with the shaft, and the shaft is basically a fixed size, and mine is a rectangle, and I have grill parts on this side, on all sides, so it really forms a wall. If you use bricks, it's even better, I think, because it forms even a smoother surface. There aren't any ledges that the elevator can catch on. And there are two more secrets that I found out. The first secret is you should make the elevator platform just one stud shorter than the actual shaft. Originally, when I designed this, this was just fitting. So this, I believe, is 6 studs in terms of the space, in terms of the depth. But now I've changed it to 5 studs, and it makes a huge difference. It's much smoother now. Of course, there is a little gap in front, which can be a safety hazard, but you know what, that's why I put that little grill piece over there. That's for safety, and I guess it's Lego, so we have to work with the scale we have, and sometimes we just have to suspend our disbelief just for a bit, but still try to keep everything as realistic as possible. The other thing I did was really this mounting, or the way I built this particular connection. It's important to use a Technic brick with a cross hole so they can put a cross connector on axle piece, so that this piece, or the handle that you create, doesn't move at all. Originally, I just used a Technic hole with that connector, and it would rotate around, and that caused a lot of problems because it would not hold the elevator straight. And once it kind of turns inside or tilts inside, it will catch the edges of the walls of the shaft, and it just won't go up and down smoothly. The second is you really want to sandwich and build this into the build. So notice how it's sandwiched between a 1x6 tile and a 1x6 plate. So it's pretty much solid. And over here, this is how I created the 5 stud extension, because there's no such thing as a 5 stud plate. I used a 4x4 plate for the base, and I have a 1x4 plate here, and everything is held with 2 more 2x4 plates. And that's really solid. I can still put at least 2 minifigs, 3 if I really wanted to squeeze them together, so that's not too bad. The Ninjago City can only have 1 person at a time, so this works out pretty well, and that just fits in. And if I have to quickly just bring in the rest of the building, or let me just bring in another floor so that's within camera frame. See, when I put another floor, this just goes up as smoothly. So you can see how this particular lift will travel up all the floors. And that's how I also designed the modular aspect of it. Notice how I put the jumper plates and the stud pieces. So there's 1 stud here, and then each corner has a 2x2 jumper plate. And this allows me to really fit each floor snugly, and it's important that the elevator shaft itself has a stud so that holds in place, because if it's out of alignment, that can cause problems for your lift. But by having the stud there, pressing it down, that's really all straight, and that makes it really smooth. So those are my tips if you are to build an elevator shaft for a building, and regardless how high the building is, you want to ensure that these details are in. Continuing with my skyscraper, the back, there's a back door which has a number lock on it, and the side over here is identical, and that's basically the outside of the ground floor. Let's have a look at the inside, because I have detailed this. The interior design I did for this ground floor is just like any large corporate office lobby. So you come in the main doors over here, and the first thing you see is this, and I'm not sure if you can see it there. So let's try to look at it through the main doors, and let me open the doors so that you can see inside. If you follow my channel, you know that's my micro cityscape build, which is my 3D brick built version of Small Brick City, or the Small Brick City logo. And let me take that out. It's just on jumper plates, and I built a little pedestal for it. And this basically, I think, is really fitting for ECOP, because they want to dominate and take over Small Brick City, or they hope to have, you know, their hands in every single business and aspect of Small Brick City. So it makes sense for them to have this micro cityscape in the middle of the lobby. And when you come in on this side, you'll see a security counter and a reception where you'd come in. I'll put minifigs and a security guard there when I detail it with minifigs. And I also put this on a jumper plate so that I can give you a closer look at this security desk. Let me just pull that up. So I'm really happy with this build because it looks really elegant, and it looks like something you might actually see in a spanking new high-tech office. So there's a glass counter panel, and yet there's still a counter and a platform just to raise the staff at a higher level than other people. And there's a touchscreen monitor here so that they can check the directory and register guests and stuff. I used a bit of different textured parts just to create a very nice overall textured look. I've modified bricks here in the forms of the grill bricks, and I've got a modified plate here just to create a nice jutting out railing. Again, just to give this overall a very nice textured look. Across from the security counter is the waiting area, and I designed a couple of sofas or couches with a matching coffee table and a flower pot on it. There are also 2 floor lamps at the front of the building, and let me just show this to you. This is a pretty simple build, but I think fits the building. It's got a round brick with these ridge parts around the circumference, and this is a bowl part with a clear dish, and that forms a very simple but nice floor lamp. Let's see if I can take out the sofa as well, because it's on jumper plates as well. Everything is basically on a jumper plate, making it easy. And this is a sofa, but it actually uses the chair parts from Lego integrated into the build. One last feature of the ground floor is the elevator door. So there's this very nice tinted black grille door, which is identical for every floor, and we have the elevator buttons on the side, and that's also identical for each floor, and you'll be able to see it clearer when I show you the subsequent floors. One thing I should mention, I chose this side of the building to put the security counter, and the reason is because that's where the back door is. So it makes sense for the security to be able to have a clear view of both doors. If this door is over this side, then they don't really have a clear view. So that's my reason for the placement of all the different furniture on the ground floor. Here's a look at one of the middle floors. All the floors are identical, so I'll just show you this one here. The design also has this overlapping grille design on the side, so there's uniformity with the ground floor as well as the rest of the building. In terms of the inside, there's really quite a lot of space, and that's because of the elevator shaft. If there were stairs, it would definitely take up at least almost 1/4 of each floor. So I've got a lot of space to be creative and to fill it in. So remember, please do give suggestions on what you think should be on the different floors and whether you concur with our initial thoughts of detailing the insides for each floor. This is a closer look at that elevator door. Since this is just a single story, you can see that clearer. And those are the buttons for the elevator, and that's identical for each and every floor. Here's a look at the very top floors of the skyscraper. There are 3 usable floors, and the very top has just an antenna and some parts to make it look like the point of a building. These are all modular, so they can separate. And if you have a clearer look on the inside, and hopefully you can see this, you can actually see the staircases, because what happens is that's one staircase there. There's no lift. The lift stops at this floor, and you have to take the staircase to go up this floor, and there's another staircase to go up to this floor, and of course this ends right here. There's no real access to the very top of the building. Let me just pop this off because it's held together by jumper plates, and that's how I created the very top. Just uses some window parts and put together this platform using modified log bricks in dark gray and gray. And next up, let's have a look at this floor over here. This is what I intend to be the vault or the safe room, but if you've got a better idea, do let me know. And of course, there's a stairwell which allows minifigs to come up the stairs. So I probably have some kind of safe door or vault door just to make this really protected. Here are the 2 remaining top floors. This particular one is smaller obviously than this floor, and this is where the generator, computer servers, and basically equipment are going to be housed. And once again, there's a stairwell here and at the bottom just to be functional. You might have noticed that all the plates for these top floors are black, and that was deliberate. I wanted there to be a visual difference between these floors and the rest of the buildings which have light gray plates. And each particular floor, as I've mentioned, is 2 studs recessed on each side to create that stacked pyramid look. Starting with this floor, and this is the floor where the elevator ends. And I chose to use a different door. I'm using a solid door because this, at least currently in my mind, is going to be the security control center of the building and Small Brick City. So it makes sense to be a bit different than the glass doors for the rest of the corporate offices. What do you think? And that's one more look all around. It is a bit dark because everything is black, but eventually I'll be tiling all the ground and I'll be tiling all this as well. So there shouldn't be any studs untiled. I hope you enjoyed this extended look at the completed skyscraper structure. I know I've thrown a lot to you, but if you have any specific ideas, please let me know in the comments. Personally, I'm really happy with the look of the skyscraper. I think it matches my vision for what I had and for the purpose of a skyscraper in Small Brick City, because it is imposing, it stands out, it looks different from the other shorter and smaller buildings, and of course, everything is awesome, so there's a great storyline for me to play with. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't, please subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching. Talk to you soon.